I knew the Guild Wars 2 content creation ecosystem was small, but being reduced to watching me? Wow. I said I was going to do another one if I thought of something else. I guess I respond well to positive reinforcement. Look, I'm even doing the avatar talks to the screen bit. So, with the new expansion Visions of Eternity already out by the time this video releases, hopefully there is going to be a new crop of players looking forward to joining. And listen, while I do have a respectable amount of hours in the game, I don't consider myself an expert. But I do feel qualified to give some tips for the fellow casual soloer, which I think is the most common type of player for an MMO right now. With a little luck, maybe we can convince some of them to stay long term. I do have to mention that if you're a free-to-play player, there are more than a few restrictions, so I recommend you read the official site in case something doesn't quite work. Also, I have to emphasize the part of this is for the casual soloer. I'm not trying to claim that anything that I say is the most optimal or even recommended thing to do. This is just a reflection of my time with the game and what I think newcomers might find useful. Picking races is mostly a cosmetic choice. It gives you no tactical advantage whatsoever. But it also affects what maps you'll start in, and it affects the main story up until level 30 or so. So pick whatever you want: a tall Norn warrior, a graceful plant lady, or an Asura. I do have to give praise to this game because even after more than a decade, it's one of the best, if not the best, at making non-human player characters. Most other games just plant weird faces on a generic human body and call it a day. Just observe during gameplay. Their posture, the way the armor fits, and especially how they move or hold their weapons, is still top tier in my opinion. One thing most videos neglect to mention about race selection is that every choice has a different voice actor, and that might affect the experience a little bit. Jennifer Hale plays it very Commander Shepard-like, very intense all the time. The male Sylvari is very regal, very elegant, sometimes to the point of being almost comedy. And the human male is just Nolan North.
I see. Farron, listen. You did good.
And you know what's funny? I was going to complain about your character constantly quipping during gameplay and how some of them can get a little grating. It turns out you can actually turn them off in the sound options. Never again will I hear how I cannot run a centaur, and that's for the best. I do have one character of each profession, but I am not going to pretend to know the ins and outs of every single one. I'm also not going to describe every profession and wax poetic about them because that doesn't really accomplish anything. But one particular thing I noticed, and as weird as it sounds, I've read a lot about people being anxious on which profession to pick. And you know what? That's fair. ArenaNet really likes to play the I am not like other MMOs card, and sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad, and a lot of times it can be kinda confusing. I mean, like, Elementalist is not quite a mage, Thief is not quite a rogue, Ranger does not quite hit the Hunter fantasy, and I still don't get what Revenant is supposed to be or do, besides looking cool, of course.
And guard your vitals. Our back.
And it's not really about raw power. There are plenty of very powerful elite specs that just don't click for one reason or another. But there is definitely something for everyone because of the great amount of choices you have. One thing you can do is enter the PvP lobby and head to the training grounds, where every skill will be unlocked and you can just test stuff out. In here, equipment stats don't matter, so be sure to buy the cheap weapons you might need for testing purposes. When it comes to skills and specs, you can only pick between the stuff you own. For example, this account only has Path of Fire and Heart of Thorns, so I can only select between the two different elite specs that come along with those expansions. Oh, a big disclaimer is that you shouldn't use this for serious training, just use it to see if you like the skills and spells and how they synergize together. Maybe test out a build from some website. Basically, just use this to check the vibes and see if you like it. Once the intro mission finishes, we are basically free to go and do whatever we want. When we open the map, we'll see a multitude of objectives we can pursue. All of them give a chunk of experience and some other kind of benefit. Most people with gamer brains are going to default to try and 100% every new map they enter. And if you enjoy it, that's fine. But be advised, the biggest newbie killer is map completion burnout. Especially when it comes to heart quests, some of those are rough. The simple advice is if something is taking too long, just move on to something else. And if you are high enough level, you can even change maps. It's usually easy to find the way to another zone. And having said that, another cause for burnout is that the starting zones can get very monothematic and kinda boring. For example, if you play as a human, it's going to be centaurs, bandits, for like 30-something levels. Every race has a capital city very near their starting zone, and each one of those cities has a portal to the game's main city, called Lion's Ark. And inside Lion's Ark, there's a portal to every other capital in the world. Exploring all these other newbie zones brings a lot of benefits, like variety, avoiding the burnout, more easy exploration XP, and getting quick access to another good thing. You might have noticed those big orange circles in the maps. These are called events. The objective is usually pretty simple: kill enemies, defeat a boss, collect certain items, etc. Anyone can join in and help to get a reward on completion. There is no need to make a party, and usually the difficulty scales according to the amount of people present. I would recommend that you always join events when possible if you're close enough, but don't be afraid to bail out if you think it's going to take too long or if nobody else is helping. There are plenty of bigger events that pull many players together, and a lot of these are actually scheduled. You can check one of the many websites that keep track of when and where they are going to happen. And while most of these are meant for max level players, there's a handful that are lower level, so I recommend that during your climb to level 80, you keep an eye out for these events. This is good on several levels. It's a great spectacle, it's decent practice for more complex events later on, the rewards are pretty good, and of course, they are really fun. Let's give a quick example. Let's say I want to go to this event with my fresh, low-level character. I'm going to check the wiki page and find the event schedule. And here is another neat little thing. You can copy and paste this little code, and when you click it, the map will zoom in to the closest waypoint. If you haven't uncovered that particular waypoint yet, we can just leave a little mark with Alt and click, and walk there with all the knowledge of traveling you already have. It looks like I got there a little early, so let's wait around for the event to start. Now, for the boss to actually spawn, there's a previous event that needs to be completed. Here we see an NPC that has to be escorted here to get the fight going. A series of events is also referred to as meta event, or just meta. The fight is pretty simple: destroy the portals and then deal with the boss. He has tons of HP for his level and 2 different phases. Also, don't neglect to pick up the giant treasure chest. I'm pretty sure it has happened to me more than once. Oh, and before I forget, if during a big event or similar activity You see one of these icons on your map, you can select them with your mouse and join the party. You don't have to say anything, just join, participate as much as you can, with the added benefits of being in a party, and then you can just disappear into the night like a crappy Batman. While leveling, the combat in the game is on the easy side. You can just mash your way to victory most of the time. Actually, now that I think about it, most people still do that, including me. But there's a couple of concepts that are better learned early. Some special enemies will have this additional bar under their HP, which is called the Break Bar, or Defiance Bar, or CC Bar, or that stupid green bar. Yeah, I know, a lot of names for the same thing, not confusing at all. To boil it down into the most simple terms, if you see a stupid green bar, you hit your skills that have the line Defiance Break on the tooltip. Yeah, we have to read our tooltips, I'm sorry. There are also certain debuffs you can apply that slowly deplete an enemy's stupid green bar. When people yell at you that you use your crowd control skills or CC skills, this is what they mean. When an enemy loses their Defiance Bar, they usually get stunned or weakened in some way, and sometimes that is the only way to kill them. Of course, not every weapon and not every player build is going to have enough Defiance Break, but it's something worthy of keeping in your mind. The second concept we must learn is combos. And we need to use our high IQ gamer brains to read tooltips again. Some skills set up combo fields, and other skills are combo finishers. Use the skills in succession and boom, you just made a combo. There's a bunch of effects that can happen when you do a combo, and even some classes depend on it. Like my trusty engineer scrapper that needs to constantly make combos to apply buffs to the party. And before you ask, yes, it took me literal years before I actually started to read tooltips. You might also have noticed some green icons popping up after doing certain actions. Back in the year 2022, a few changes were made to help the new player experience along. And the main thing is this new feature called the Adventure Guide, that is hidden in the Achievement panel.
Achievement panel? This is honestly one of the most confusing things in the game.
Thank you!
All my objections with the achievement interface aside, the Adventure Guide is often cited as being the best resource for leveling up. And if your only concern is speed, I guess that is true. When you complete every task in a volume, you'll receive a huge boost in XP, a few levels worth even. The downside is that I think it gets really boring really quickly. Yeah, I know, subjective opinion. The logic is that doing these tasks teaches you how the game works, but that's a big stretch. The implementation is very awkward, very surface level. It feels like a minimum effort kind of thing. But at the end of the day, every bit of XP helps. Yeah, this is a war you're going to lose. Inventory space comes at a premium. The primary item to craft bags are these runes of holding, and sadly the price is fixed. The poor man's option is investing in 18 slot bags at a little over 2 gold a pop, and slowly work your way to 20 slot bags as you move up in the world. Anything above that is millionaire influencer kinda bullshit, and I wouldn't recommend losing sleep over it. It's the kind of thing you do when you have already achieved everything else. Of course, we always need to keep our eyes open for certain achievements or events that give out extra slots or bigger bags like the ones I have over here. But that's only one side of keeping inventory problems at bay. The only advice I can give is that you have to get ahead of it. Every few moments I take stock and I identify if I have containers to open, items to salvage or sell or send to storage or even destroy. I stop and do this at any time. while I'm walking towards a warzone in World vs. World, or even in the middle of an event. I'm not going to ask you to be as obsessive as me, but I've seen some inventories, man. I don't know how you live with yourselves. If you are going to stick to the soloer lifestyle, you're going to be cutting yourself off from ways to upgrade your equipment. And because of that, crafting is something that you might have to take advantage of. You can get a lot of character XP via crafting, but most people prefer to wait once they're max level because the gold investment necessary is significant. I'm talking somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 80 gold depending on market prices. And this doesn't even include extra expenses to get recipes and the like. A great Guild Wars 2 classic is just going to GW2 Crafts and follow the instructions. Wow, this site hasn't changed in like a decade. Now, crafting and its many difficulties might not be everyone's cup of tea, but in my never-ending quest to be completely self-sufficient, I leveled up all of them and ended up having fun. No wonder I was poor for so long. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I made it no secret that I don't really care much for the story here. I mean, there are some highs and a hell of a lot of lows, but that's not really the subject of this video. You can completely ignore the story during the base game, and I wish you could do that on future content. When you reach level 10 and every other 10 levels afterward, you can start story missions by following around the green icon. I only did the core story once, and basically held off until I was level 60-something so I could just tackle it in sequence and get that final boost to max level. Still, you should try it at least once, maybe you'll become a story enjoyer, we don't know that yet. Personally, I only appreciate the extra Black Lion keys, but besides that, As a bit of an extension to the previous tip, the main story is also pretty bad for gearing up your character. Until you get to max level and become a little more established, you can't really aim for specific pieces of gear. The only alternative left is buying things on the trading post. I'm more of a farming kind of person and spending money is not my favorite thing. Still, I would recommend that every 10 to 15 levels or so, you should try to get at least a few upgrades this way. Just get something with the power stat on it and you'll be fine. And I know I have said this tons of times, the early game is pretty easy and being overly concerned for your equipment at this stage is not something vital. But you do feel the difference, and trying to force your way with inferior equipment will slow everything down and become another source for burnout. Looking at it objectively, joining a guild, especially a high-level one, has so many perks that you probably should join one, or even a few of them. I'm sure invites are going to come quickly and easily to new players. And I know fellow dedicated soloers are probably no strangers at mooching off from guild benefits while not participating at all, like we probably do in real life. I think we could pool our resources together and make the No One Cares Guild. We make no activities, we have no Discord, fuck you. I think we have a nice idea here. I know, I'm kidding. Like in every game, semi-dead guilds are probably common. You let me know. I'm not going to join, though. I have read some things about solo creating and upgrading a guild, but I am not fond of the spending gold part. Still, it's a potential idea for a new video. If you have been in the business for a while now, you probably heard the phrase, gamers will optimize the fun out of everything. This is not exclusive to Guild Wars 2, of course. Every game manifests this in different ways. I've seen this actually discourage a bunch of players as well. Let me give a practical example. I wanted to make a weapon to test a new build, and I realized I was short on materials, particularly wood. What is up with the prices of hardwood anyway? For simplicity's sake, let's say I need around 400 wood logs to craft what I want. If you ask the habitual Guild Wars player where to get this, you'll get the stock response of farm money and buy the thing. The logic being that running the most profitable activities to gather the money is going to be quicker than actually gathering the material yourself. That might be true, but what bothers me is that it's very easy to fall down the optimization abyss and reduce the game into a gold per hour marathon. It's annoying. It worms into your brain. It makes you second-guess yourself. Am I doing the correct thing right now? Maybe I should be picking berries instead. And I get it. As a long-time MMO player, I understand that struggling for optimization produces happy juices in some people's brains. But at the same time, you shouldn't let that stop your masculine urge to chop 400 trees by hand. If you're going to leave with a single lesson from here, let it be this. As long as you don't ruin other people's day, just do whatever feels right. Optimization be damned. And that's everything I can think of for this section of the game, for now. I was going to make a longer video with tips for after reaching 80, but I wouldn't have finished in time to ride the wave of hype from the expansion. Even if, now that I think about it, this is pretty late anyway. That is a new video we can save for the future. I also have a tiny update. I crafted my first legendary recently, but it didn't make for a cool story, it's just me collecting materials. I could deploy weekly trashy videos glazing the game every week and grow the channel with that, but I'm not that kind of guy. I know I always get a little tsundere promoting myself, but maybe subscribe or leave some thumbs up or something. And if I can convince you to watch some of my other videos, that would be neat. Having said that, see you on the next one. Yes, this whole video is a psyop to reduce hardwood prices because what the hell, man?